Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my studio in my garage. Hopefully the lighting's okay for this. I've set it up in here this afternoon because it's sort of just the best spot in my house. So if you're practicing with me, grab a block, maybe some blocks if you have them, some pillows, a blanket for your shavasana, any other props, some water, and get comfortable. Hi, Carly. I haven't seen you forever. How are you? How's John? Hi, Barry. So we're going to work through a Power Vinyasa class today that's sort of loosely based on the Baron Baptiste Journey into Power sequence. So it is an athletic sequence. You're probably going to sweat, which is good. So do what you can. There's never a requirement to do absolutely everything. So modify as you need to. Take child's pose, honor your body, as always. So if you're ready to get started, we will start in child's pose eventually. So child's pose is toes together, knees either together or apart, and then letting the belly rest on or between the thighs, letting the forehead come to either the mat, cross wrist, or a block, whatever is comfortable. So if you're in child's pose, this is starting to bring attention to the breath. And in and out through the nostrils is always in yoga. Let's start here by paying attention to the quality of the breath. Is it shallow? Is it deeper? Just noticing, no judgment. And as you're here, starting to deepen the breath, bringing breath all the way into the lungs, letting that space fill up so much. The diaphragm pushes down, the belly button comes out, the belly pops up like a balloon, pops out, and then drawing belly button to the spine, releasing all of the air. Keep going at your own pace. You might even count the breath. So anywhere from 4 to 8, matching exhales to inhales. And maybe over time, deepening the breath. So maybe you might go from a count of 4 to a count of 5 to a count of 6, maybe even up to 10 or 12 eventually. Really tapping into the power of our breath to slow down our minds, slow down all the stuff that's going on in there. If you are feeling like you could use some energy this afternoon, one of the ways to do that is to actually lengthen the inhales, so you're bringing in more fresh air, so making them maybe a second or two longer than the exhales. If you're finding yourself maybe dealing with some anxiety, racing mind, lots going on, and you need to quiet the mind a little bit, you can actually lengthen the exhales by a second or two, just releasing a little bit more. I'm just checking to see if I can actually see my entire mat. I think I can. So nice and heavy on the mat here, a couple more cycles of breath, letting go of anything that you've brought with you on the mat that's not going to serve you there, setting it aside, releasing it with breath for the exhale. On your next inhale, slowly come up into tabletop, curling the toes under, and then pressing the hips towards the sky for your downward facing dog. So the first one of the day of the practice probably. So this one takes some movement. You can walk the dog, lifting the heels, bending through the knees. Taking some movement there, seeing how the body feels, how are the hamstrings, how's the low back. And then when you've had enough of that, come to some stillness, and you can bend through the knees always in a downward facing dog, depending on how much space you've got in the hamstrings, no problem. Either straight legs, bent legs. Take a couple breaths here. Let the breath be heavy, or the head be heavy. So giving the head a shake, yes or no, a couple times if you're finding you're holding tension. Sometimes we think we've got to hold our head up, and we forget that it's attached to our body and it's not going to fall off, so we hold all this tension that we don't need. Another nice deep inhale. And exhale, you might sigh it out. Let's take one more of those. Inhaling. And then exhaling, open up through the mouth, side out. Come back to normal breath. That's always available to you through your practice if you're finding you need to release some heat, some energy, calm yourself down a little bit. All right, from here, coming up high onto the toes and start to tippy-toe the toes to behind the wrists. So feet are about hip-width distance apart for a forward fold. Nice dangle. So again, knees can be bent here. You can let the belly rest on the thighs, still opening through the low back here. You can grab the elbows each other. You can also interlace the hands and let the thumbs sort of rest on the nape of the neck lightly, just creating a little bit more traction. Not pulling, just letting the weight of the hands do the work here. You can start straightening through the legs. Belly button to the spine, support the low back. And then bring a little bit more weight into the toes and notice what that does to the backs of the legs. What do you feel? You're not going to fall over, probably anyways. You can even sway side to side gently. What does that do to the legs? And then releasing the grip with the hands if you've got it. Place fingertips on the mat, come up halfway and just take a couple bends through the knees. Sort of like walking the dog here, except we're in a forward fold. You can push hips out one side to the other, opening up to the IT band. Whatever feels good to the body here, freestyling it. And when you've had enough of that, shuffle the toes together. So toes are together, heels are slightly apart, and then coming up like a rag doll. So keeping the head heavy, just start to stack the vertebra on top of vertebra one at a time. It's coming up slowly, meeting in mountain pose. So we should be tops of the mat or thereabouts. And let's find our alignment here. So toes together, heels slightly apart, and right away engaging all the muscles in the legs. So your quads are strong, your glutes are engaged, belly button to the spine, tailbone is sort of neutral. And then from here, let's inhale the shoulders up towards the ears and then fold the shoulder blades down the back. Let's do that 2 more times. So inhaling, draw shoulders up, open up through the chest. 1 more time. Inhale, shoulders up, shoulder blades down the back, open through the chest. Palms face forward is how I teach. From here, close through the eyes. And let's bring the hands to prayer center before we start the active part of practice. Just taking a breath to ground ourselves. Feel the feet on your feet on the mat. Feel your ankles working to hold you steady. Tiny little movements. An opportunity here to set an intention for your practice. An intention or a mantra. You can dedicate your practice to someone, something. And maybe you choose nothing, that's fine as well. Whatever comes to mind, let that be it. Let it bubble up in the heart space. And letting that be an anchor through your practice, so in the tough spots, something to come back to. Blinking the eyes open, and let's flow from here. So starting out with Surya Namaskar 8, inhaling, arms come up, look up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, release forward, head is heavy. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, plant the hands and step back for this first one here, high plank. So let's modify this first one. If you know where you're going with your vinyasas, you just do as works for you. First one here, let's drop to the knees, release the toes, and then exhaling, dropping chest to the mat all the way, toes come to the mat, and then inhaling, peel the chest off the mat, elbows come towards the hips, look up slightly, baby cobra. Exhale, curl the toes under, you can come through tabletop, and then push into downward facing dog. So this is a modified vinyasa. This is no slouch. This builds still a lot of strength. So it's better to do this version than to try and do the full version without the right alignments, because then you could just possibly hurt yourself. So taking this option whenever you need to. Back to breath. Really pushing the mat away from you with the hands, taking weight out of the wrists so you don't get that wrist pain. Inhale, look between the hands, come up high onto the toes. Exhale, bend through the knees and jump or step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release forward, head is heavy. And then inhale, reverse swan dive. Come up, look up, small back bend, gaze thumbs, hands through prayer center, and down by the side. Let's do another one. Inhaling, arms come up. Exhale, release forward. Inhale, half lift, long spine, look forward. Exhale, plant a hand, step back, high plank. So taking your modification that we did in the previous version, or full chaturanga. If you're gonna go full chaturanga, exhale, lower elbows by the side. Inhale, upward facing dog, or your baby cobra if you're taking modified, look forward or up, and then exhale, downward facing dog, rolling over the toes, or coming through that tabletop again. Come back to breath. Downward facing dog is a resting posture. Someday it might feel like that. So always coming back to breath right away. Or if you've lost the breath at any point, you come to a child's pose and then join us when you're ready. Honor your body. Breath is most important. If you've lost the breath, we've lost the yoga. Inhale, look between the hands, come up high onto the toes. Exhale, bend through the knees, jump or step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release forward. And then inhale to come up, rise up, look up. Hands to prayer center, down by the side. Let's go into Surya Namaskar B. So at any time, if my breath cues aren't matching the pace of your breath, you honor your breath and go with that. So toes together, top of the mat. Let's bend through the knees, fingertips graze the mat, and then inhale. Keep the butt nice and low, bring the arms up, look at the space between the hands, sit down a little bit lower. Exhale, straighten the legs, release forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, jump or step backwards, high plank. Modifying as you need to. I'm going to cue chaturanga, so exhale, lower halfway, elbows by the side, look forward, inhale, upward facing dog, curling over the toes, look up, engage entire back. Exhale, downward facing dog. Come back to breath. Inhale, right leg comes up high to the sky, pointed toe. Exhale, knee towards the nose, crunch it in, high plank, release the foot, back foot to 45, warrior one. Inhaling to come up. Exhale, frame the front foot, step back, high plank, option for three-legged, lower. So either all the way to the floor, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Come back to breath. Inhale, left leg comes up high to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose. Release the foot, back foot to 45. Inhaling to come up, warrior one. Look up. Exhale, frame the front foot, step back, high plank. Going through your vinyasa, lowering on the exhale. Inhaling for your back extension. Exhale, downward facing dog. Coming back to breath. So always matching the movement to your breath. We're always going to meet up in downward facing dog, so there's lots of time, no rush. In and out through the nostrils, long, deep, slow breaths. Next, inhale, come up high onto the toes, look between the hands. Exhale, bend through the knees, jump or step forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, release forward. And then meeting in chair pose, so bending through the knees, swooping the arms up. Sitting down nice and low, look at the space between the hands. And then hands to prayer center. Straighten the legs, release, you let it shake. So top of the mat, if we're not there, inhaling. Arms come up. Exhale. Release forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And then coming into chair pose. We're going to do an extra one here because I kind of screwed that one up. Look at the space between the hands. And then exhale. Release forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant a hand, step or jump back. A high plank, lowering to the knees or full chaturanga, lower on the exhale. Inhale, upward facing dog or baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up high to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose, crunch it in, high plank, release the foot. Back foot 45, inhaling to come up. Look up, exhale, release the hands back to the mat. Step back, high plank, go into our vinyasa, so lower on the exhale. Inhale, back extension. Exhale, downward facing dog. Breath. Inhale, left leg comes up high to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose, crunch, release the foot. Back foot to 45. Inhale. To come up, look up. Exhale, frame the front foot, step back, vinyasa, so honor your breath. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. So staying in your downward facing dog here. Resting or child's pose. Always, always an option. The other option is to skip a vinyasa and come straight to downward facing dog. That is the other option for you. Breathing. Slow the breath down. Slow the mind down. Should be nice and warm right now. I am. Hopefully you are too. Inhale. Come up high on the toes. Exhale. Jump or step forward. Inhale. Halfway lift. Long spine. Exhale. Release. And then inhale to chair pose. Bend to the knees. Arms come up. Look up. Sit down a little bit lower. Hands through prayer center. Down by the side. Oof, I need a little bit of water. So we have another set of Surya Namaskar B's left, and we're going to add on. So this one. So listen to my words. Follow along as best as you can. So chair pose. Bending to the knees, fingertips to the mat. Inhaling, arms come up. You can even bring the hands together if you've got space in the shoulder blades or through the shoulders. Exhale, straighten legs, release forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step or jump back, high plank. Exhale to lower. Inhale, up dog or baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right away, inhale, right leg comes up, high to the sky. Exhale, knee to nose, crunch it in, release the foot, and coming into high lunge, so bring the back heel forward over top of the ball of that foot, when you're stable, inhaling, adding in the arms, so high lunge. So maybe, for this one, checking the hips, making sure that left hip is coming forward as well, engaging through the entire back leg, pushing the back of the knee towards the sky, making sure our glutes engaged. Strong posture here. So inhaling, lengthen up one more time, and exhale, we twist over to the right. So right arm comes back, left arm comes forward. Gaze can come to the back fingertips as well. Stay strong. And then inhale, back to center, high lunge. Exhale, we open up warrior two. So back foot to 90. You might widen your stance a bit. Arms come parallel. Set the gaze at the front fingertips. Keep pushing that right knee to the right edge of the mat, to the right edge of your foot. Engagement through, both glutes actually, but especially pressing down through the back edge, the edge of the back foot. Pardon me. Sit down a little bit lower. From here, bring the right elbow to the right thigh. Left arm sweeps down, around, and up for extended side angle. So long line from my fingertips all the way down to my back foot. So don't let that hip pop up too much. Let's not rest too much on our elbow here, using our core. Maybe if you want to add in a little bit of spice, you bring the right arm into it, parallel to the left arm. Very nice. All right, bringing right arm back to that thigh. Pull yourself back up, warrior two, forward transition, and then windmill the arms. Frame the front foot, step the right foot back to meet the left, and move through your vinyasa. So exhale to lower, inhale to come up, exhale, downward facing dog. Come back to breath. So when I say flip over the toes, one thing you'll see me do is rather than like rolling over the toes, I actually flip. The reason I do that is because when I just roll, my ankles sort of end up like sickled in and it's not great. So I actually will pick up my foot, point the toes, and then put it back down. So either way, whatever works for your body. All right, let's get ready for the left side. Inhaling, left leg comes up, point to toe. Exhale, knee towards the nose, crunch it in, release the foot, push the ball of, or the heel of the foot over the ball of the right, and inhale to come up into our high lunge. So think pushing the back of the right knee towards the ceiling or the sky, wherever you are, to engage that leg. Inhale, lengthen up one more time, and then exhale, we twist over to the left. So right arm comes forward, left arm comes back, and gaze might come over the left shoulder, if that's okay for you. Engagement through the legs, so hold you in place. If you're shaking, that's okay. And then inhale to come back to center. Our back heel comes to the mat. Sorry, warrior two. So yes, our back heel does come to the mat. 90 degrees, maybe you widen the stance a bit. Arms parallel, set the gaze. Belly button to the spine. Press down, outer edge, back foot. All right, extended side angle. So left elbow to left thigh. Right arm comes down, around, and up. So long line of energy from my heel all the way to my fingertips. And maybe adding in the bottom arm, so the left arm. So it's parallel to the right. A little bit more strength building here. If your arm is up, your bottom arm, your left arm, bring it back down to the thigh. Locate your front big toe. Pull yourself up, warrior two for transition. And then windmill the arms. Frame the front foot. Step back. Lower. Either chaturanga or all the way. Inhale for your back extension. So peel the chest open. Shoulder blades on the back. Look up. Exhale. Downward facing dog. Come back to breath. Or child's pose. Catch the breath here. Let the heels maybe come a little bit closer towards the mat. Is there an openness in the body a little bit maybe? A little bit warmer. All right, we're going to work through side plank here. So we're going to take our right hand, bring it a little bit more to the midline of the mat, and then flip over, bring the toes together, flipping over onto the knife edge, the outside edge of the right foot. You can stay right here with the left foot sort of in front of the right. You can stack the feet to make it more challenging. You can bring the bottom knee to the mat as well. So find your side plank and then bring the arm up, the left arm up to the sky. Maybe the gaze comes up, so chin to the shoulder, gaze comes up. Maybe even lift the left leg a little bit. All right, meeting in high plank here, coming back into downward facing dog. Lots of strength here. Catch the breath. So same thing, other side. Bring the left hand to the midline and then bring the toes together, swiveling onto the outside edge of the left foot. Again, finding your position with the legs here, stacking feet, bringing them one in front of the other, or dropping bottom knee. You can add in the right arm, Keep pushing the hips up. So almost like a bit of a bow shape rather than sort of like sagging in. You can try lifting the right leg, flexing to that foot if you're doing that. And you can bring the gaze up. If you're wobbling, that's fine. That means you're building strength. All right, coming back to our high plank, moving back into downward facing dog. Catch the breath. Long, slow inhales and exhales. Maybe even inhaling through the nose And exhaling out the mouth like you can do that as many times as you need to. And you're probably practicing by yourself, right? So you can even open the mouth wide. Cares how you sound, how you look. All right, next inhale, high up on the toes. Exhale, jump or step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, release forward. Let's take another forward fold here. So shuffling the feet about hip width distance apart. Taking our first 2 fingers on each hand like hooks and wrapping around and under the big toe from the inside. And then pressing down with the big toe. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release forward. Your knees can be bent here like always, no problem. If your legs are straight and your arms are pointing, if you can pull with the arms, if you've got the space to bend through the arms, bring the elbows out to the side. And think top of the head towards the top of the feet. Someday, in another lifetime maybe. Belly button to the spine, keep pressing down with the toe, a little bit of traction here. And then inhale, come up halfway, release that. Shuffle the toes back together here for chair pose. Bend through the knees, inhale, bring the arms up. So we're gonna actually add on to this chair pose here as well. So sit down nice and low, neutral pelvis, so like think no ghetto booties, so tuck that under. And then bring hands through prayer center. Sit down lower, lower, lower. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, we're gonna twist to the left. So bring the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Thumbs somewhere to the sternum. If this is not for you, you can bring the right forearm across the knees, left arm to low back. Still creates a twist, no problem. If your thumbs are together, you can start opening up to the arms, reaching top to bottom, gaze can come up. No matter where you're at, sit down nice and low so that your glutes, your hips are below your shoulders, your knees are in one line. You're going to want to, so one is going to want to squeeze past the other, so keep them in one line. Sit down lower. I know your legs are burning, it's good. And then inhale back to center, stand up, reach up for a little bit of release, and coming back into chair pose. Everybody meeting in chair pose. Hands to prayer center, we go the other side, right? We know what's coming. Sit down nice and low, lengthen on the inhale through the spine, and then exhale to twist to the right side. So left elbow outside of right knee, or left forearm across the thighs, right hand to low back. Gaze can be to the side, it can be up towards the ceiling. Keeping the knees squeezed together, sit down nice and low. And then inhale and come back to center, and then reach up. Whew. The legs are burning, probably a little bit. Mine are. Give that a shake out. And meeting at the top of the mat, toes together. All right, a little bit of play here. Let's inhale, bring the hands up, look up, exhale, release forward, inhale, halfway lift. So now that we're here, let's take another forward fold and then we'll go into crow pose. So we've done a couple forward folds already. You can take either of the previous versions, or I'm going to cue gorilla pose. So I'm going to bend at the wrist, top of the hand's going to be flat on the mat, and I'm going to step on top of that with my feet. So wrists are on, so hands are flat on the mat until the wrist, step on top with the feet. So toes are at the wrist. You can bend through the knees as much as you need to get there. Press down with the big toes, maybe wriggle the toes, give your wrists a massage. You can stay there, or inhale to lengthen up halfway, and then exhale, start to pull in. Again, elbows coming out to the side. Belly button to the spine, pull the belly in and up. Use breath to lengthen the spine, and exhale, maybe you move a little bit deeper. Still rolling forward slightly. All right, next inhale, come up halfway, release the hands. We're gonna play with crow pose. So if you've done crow before, you go ahead and do it, you play around. You can transition into a headstand as well. You can jump or play with jumping back into vinyasa. If you haven't, let's give it a shot. You're at home, nobody can see you if you fall out, no big deal. And you're not going to fall very far because you're close to the ground, so it's no big deal. So feet are about hip width distance apart, a little bit wider, toes point out to the side, hands come flat on the mat. From here, come up high onto the toes, you're bending through the elbows so that you're creating these chaturanga arms, so that you create this sort of shelf for your knees. So the key to this is the more you can crunch in, the better it is. So we prepare with twists and tri-twists, that's why we do that. From here, you can take more weight into the hands and eventually start lifting up one toe, maybe the other, maybe you play around, and eventually you take off both toes and bring the toes together. Squeeze everything together and you hold there. Whew. Try a couple times. If this is new to you, look forward. It'll help you stay up as well. Engagement through Mula Bandha, so it's like a giant Kegel. And when you've had enough, you come out and let's just take a yogi squat here. You're done playing around. Close to the eyes, let that go. Come back to breath. We play around, right? We don't get too attached to the outcome. Whether we're successful or not, doesn't matter. All right. Bring the toes, the feet together. Actually, let's stay exactly where we are. Hands through prayer center, and then pushing through the feet. Push yourself up to standing position. Come, actually anywhere you like for balancing poses. So, first one we're going to do is tree pose, quintessential yoga pose. If you know that you would like maybe a wall or a support close by, you can do that. But challenge yourself. Sometimes we think we need a wall or support, and really we actually don't. All right, we'll start with the left foot grounded. So finding a nice spot for that left foot, strong through the left leg, engaging all the muscles. So you can even, grab your leg or those muscles solid, rock hard. Right knee comes out to the side, toes are on the mat. So maybe your foot is against your ankle like this and toes are still on the mat. This is your pose, no problem. This is about rotating that hip out. You want to go a little bit further, you can move the foot up to the calf, or if you want to go further still, you go past the knee, never right on the knee, to the inside of the thigh, maybe as high as right underneath the groin. And right away, push that hip to center. So we tend to want to sort of push out for counterbalance. So push that hip to center, nice straight line, and then when you're situated, you can bring hands to prayer center, thumbs to sternum. You can extend your branches. You can, other option is to interlace the hands, push down, and bring the hands forward and up in a circle, pushing up. If you are super comfortable in tree pose, and even if you aren't, you can start challenging yourself by bringing the gaze further up. So rather than maybe looking directly in front of you, you can start to look up, 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 maybe at the ceiling directly above your head. See what that does for your balance. You're probably going to wobble. This is good. If you're super comfortable, you can drop the head back. You can close to the eyes. All right. Hands back to prayer center. Draw the knee into center. Draw the knee up and release. Give that a shake. Let that side go. We go to the other side, and we have no expectations of the other side. No expectations, no judgment. It's yoga. We do what we can, and then we move on. So grounding through the right foot, left toes to the mat, knee out to the side. Maybe this is your pose, or you move the foot up to the place that works for you. So really engaging through that left glute to open up the hip, and through the right hip to drive, or through the right glute to drive that hip to the center line of the body. Hands through prayer center. Take your position. You can pick something else on this side, no problem. What is your body calling for right now? Keep really pressing through the big toe, the right big toe. It helps you Just find your balance, stay balanced. If you fall out, you come back in, it's no big deal. If you wobble, no big deal. It helps to find a drishti in poses like this, so that's something probably about the level of your eyes that doesn't move. And again, option to start bringing the gaze up, if you like. Strong, grounded, rooted, reaching at the same time. And then hands through prayer center. Draw the knee to the center, draw it in, and release. All right. For our next pose, we're going to play with eagle pose. So chair pose, our trusty chair pose, let's meet there, bending to the knees, arms come up, and then cactusing through the arms. So arms are like goalposts. So we can do this one step or many steps. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring right elbow underneath the left and right leg over. So you can do that at once or take many steps. So right leg comes over, right arm comes under, and we wrap. So we wrap at the elbows and maybe again at the wrists, and then bring the leg over the thigh, and maybe the foot comes behind the left calf. Maybe not. If it doesn't, just point it down, point it where you'd like it to go. Sit down nice and low. Pull the elbows down, straight in front of your face. Bring the knees to center line, elbows to center line. Sit down nice and low. Squeeze everything together, compressing through all the major joints in your body here. Get down a little bit lower. All right, inhale to come up, unravel. Let's meet in chair pose. Right away, no drama, let that side go. So same thing, so except this time left under right, left over top of right. All right, let's go. Left under, right over. Wrapping at the elbows, maybe grabbing, so maybe grabbing for the thumbs, grabbing what you can, doesn't matter. Sit down nice and low, so knees to center line, elbows to center line, draw the wrist down, sit down nice and low, a little bit lower, squeeze everything together, squeeze the thighs together, the arms together, compress here. One more breath, and then inhale, come up, let that go, hands through prayer center, and down by the side. One more balancing pose here, nice challenging one. Grounding through the left foot, left hand comes to the waist. So a bit of a challenge here, we did this in our last class too. We can get here a couple different ways. I'll sort of cue the challenge. If that doesn't work, you do what works for you. So first fingers come out like hooks and then kicking the foot into that, grabbing for the big toe. If straight leg doesn't work for you, you bend through the knee, hand comes to the inside, and this is totally fine as well. If you've got the big toe, maybe the leg is a little bit bent, maybe it's straight, pushing the heel towards the wall or away from you, and then drawing that shoulder back into the socket. Really pressing down through the left heel, the left toe. One more breath, and then opening up towards the right side. No matter what you've got, bent leg, straight leg, open it out to the right. Your left arm can come out for counterbalance. Your gaze can start to come left as well for a challenge. Really pressing out to the heel of that left foot. Whew. And then bring the leg back to center. Now listen carefully. Hold that leg up where it is and bring both hands to the waist. Pointed toe. Bring it up a little higher, cramping on the leg, and exhale. Release. Whew. Shake that out. One more balance pose on this side. And then we transition to the mat. So ground through that right foot. Right hand to the waist. And same thing, we can try the fun way or bring your leg up however works. So kicking up into the hand. Grabbing for the big toe. Bent leg is okay. Holding onto the toe with the leg bent or straight is okay. Just think about pushing, pulling that shoulder back into the socket. So don't let that come out too far. So push it, pull it back into the socket. Legging up nice and high to your degree. One more breath. Opening up towards the left, no matter what you've got going on with the leg. Right arm can come out to the side. Gaze can come to the side. Keep breathing. And back to center. Hands to the hips. Pull the elbows back, point to toe. Lean forward slightly, bring the leg up a little more, and release. Give that a shake. All right, that hard work is done. Take some water. Oh, hi, Scott. Hi, Jody. Hopefully you guys are also practicing. I know you're both at work, but... All right, let's vinyasa to the floor. So make this a strong one here. Top of the mat, toes together. Inhaling to come up. Exhale, release forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, separate jump back. Meeting in high plank here. We're going to hold this here for a breath or two. So really pressing the floor away from you, puffing up that space between the shoulder blades. If you need to come to the knees, you do that. Planks here, so good for us. All right, listen carefully. We're going to drop. We're going to come from plank all the way to the mat. We're going to count to 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the fingertips together, elbows come out to the side, forehead to the mat. Breathe. All right. Come on, prop yourself up just enough that you can take the arms and wrap them around so that the hands meet above the low back. Interlace the fingers, release the pointer fingers, pistol grip. Forehead back to the mat. Really squeeze the legs together, pointed toes. Strong legs, lift the kneecaps off the mat with the quads. Inhale, peel the chest away from the mat. Add into our legs so that you're sort of just on the belly for a locust pose. So think about if I was pulling your fingers closer to the back of the mat, open up to the chest, engage the entire back body. So good. If you've got lower back issues, this will help prevent a lot of back issues as well. Come up a little higher and release. Fingertips touch, elbows to the side, rest the forehead. Breathe. All right, come on up. Floor bow, different version than you might be used to, so be careful, or listen to my words carefully. So bend through the legs, flex to the feet. The thighs are gonna stay on the mat for the entire time here. So this one, we're gonna reach back, try to do it, both hands at the same time, or otherwise one hand at the same time is fine too. So reaching back for the crease where your ankle meets your foot basically. Keep flexing the feet from here. Ground the thighs, start to roll back. Start kicking the toes towards the back of the mat so that you start opening up through the chest. Press down those knees. Gaze can come up, follow the curve of the spine. Keep squeezing the knees together, don't let them splay out. Kick a little bit harder and exhale. Release. Diamond shape with the hands, forehead to the mat. Breathe. All right, when you're ready, hands on the mat, underneath the shoulders, sort of like in line with where your nipples might be. Tuck the toes under, push yourself up, and come to sit, the stand on the knees actually, for a camel pose. So, a few different ways to do this. Toes can be flat on the mat, toes can be tucked under, you've got more space. So I'm going to teach this progressively. You go to a place where that works for you. No matter what way, where you go to, you're still doing work, you're still building strength. So knees are probably about a fist width distance apart. Strong thighs. Hands to the low back, like you've put your hands in your jean pockets. So thumbs are on the outside. Strong quads, belly button to the spine. Start to lean back here. Feel the quads engage. Keep pushing the hips forward. Glutes are engaged. Draw the shoulder blades together. Start creating that back bend. Look up at the ceiling. Keep leaning back. And again, so maybe you stay here, right? This is fine. Maybe you drop the head back all the way, and maybe you reach for the heels, thumbs on the outside. Keep breathing and keep pushing the hips forward. So regardless of where you're at, quads are strong, hips are pushed forward, shoulder blades are together. Breathe. Push forward a little bit more. If your hands are down, bring it back to the low back. Slowly make your way out of the posture. Sit on the heels. Breathe. All right, from here, bring the hips, the glutes, the one side or the other for a bridge pose. So come to lay on your backs. Feet are about hip width distance apart, and you want to make sure you can reach for the heels with the fingers. So come to lay on the backs. Make sure the heels are close enough. And then from here, point the toes in just a little bit, pushing through the heels, the hips towards the sky. Keep squeezing the knees together. Arms, shoulder blades can walk underneath. You can interlace the hands, push down through the hands and the forearms. Gaze down the midline of the body. Glutes engage, knees squeeze together, come up a little bit higher, and draw the heels towards the glutes, engaging through the hamstrings. All right, release the hands. We've got the grip. Come to lay on the mat. Knock the knees together. Feet are a little bit wider. Just release. Next set, option to do this bridge pose or to do full wheel as well. So I'm going to cue through full wheel. If that's not your jam today, you just take a bridge and then you do that. So same setup with the legs for wheel. Make sure you can reach the heels. Bring the arms up overhead and then flipping at the wrist. Place the hands on the mat beside your ears, fingertips facing the shoulders, and squeezing the elbows in. Don't let them splay out too much. We start to push up. So you can push up, come to the top of the head, pause, and then push up further, or you can push straight up. Try a couple times if this is new to you. If you're up in the pose, squeeze the knees together. You can come up high on the toes, walk the toes a little bit closer together, and then pushing the chest towards the back of the mat, as if there was a wall behind you and your chest was straight against it. All right, when you're ready to come out, tuck the chin towards the chest, slowly lower, slowly, slowly, slowly. Let the knees knock together, feet are wide, and just breathe. If you're in bridge, come up too, obviously. A little bit of ab work. I'm gonna make sure you guys can sort of see me. I have no idea with this setup I've got on my table here on my phone where I'm actually at, but hopefully you guys can see me. So I'm gonna lay on my back. So come to lay on your backs. Legs come towards the sky, like an upside down or like a sideways L shape, I guess, depending on how you're looking at it. So make sure you're grounded through the low back. This is important. So you can bring the palms beside the hip, the thumbs kind of tuck under the glutes. Or for more spice, we're only doing one set of ab stuff, so you might actually take a little bit more spice here. So if that's you, bring the fingertips behind the ears, shoulders come off the mat, elbows out to the side. So entire time we're doing this, low back stays to the mat, okay? So let's point the toes here, engage the legs are as straight as possible, lower to about 60 for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower down to about 30. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down to hover, hover, hover. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back up. This time flexing the feet, so toes towards the nose. Legs are still nice and straight. Low back is grounded. Lower down to 60. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down to 30. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down to hover, I know it's burning. 4, 3, 2, 1, come up. Charlie Chaplin legs, so keep the feet flexed, except heels are together, toes come apart. Legs are still straight. Lower down to 60, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down to 30, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down to hover, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the legs back up. You can hug the knees in towards the chest. You can roll side to side a little bit. drawing circles on the sky or the ceiling with the knees. Just release. All right, so rock and roll yourself up to seated. So just grab below the knees, rock and roll down the length of the spine a couple times, massaging through the spine. It feels nice. Come to seated. All right, what's that move we got here? Okay, so we're gonna move into pigeon pose. So there's a couple ways to get into that. You can get into it if you know where you're going from, like right leg forward first. My best way to get into it, I think, is coming to down dog, just so you've got the space, and then drawing the right leg up, and then right knee comes to the right wrist, shin comes across. And let's set this up for a second, always paying attention to where we are. The knee is going to come away from the midline of the body, so you don't necessarily want the knee right in front of the body. So out towards the side, and then the foot can be close to the groin, or the shin can be more parallel to the short edge of the mat, come more forward, depending on how open you are. Don't force anything. We're looking to open up through the outside of the right hip here. So you can stay exactly where you are. In the upright version, you're going to maybe work through the left hip flexor a little bit more, or you can come into swan or reclining pigeon. So that just means reclining forward, maybe forehead to the mat, to the forearms, to a block, stacked wrists, whatever. And come to breath. Coming to the end of our practice. So slow the breath down, be heavy. Making sure that we're not sort of leaning off to the right side. I want to make sure that our hips are square to the mat. So prop something underneath that right glute if that tends to happen, like a pillow or a block. And just breathe. Couple more breaths here. Next inhale, if you've come forward, prop yourself up. Notice has anything shifted for you. Then two ways to release, well, lots of ways to release, but the two ways to do it is to either step back in to tabletop and stretch back one leg at a time, or to come to table or downward facing dog. So plant hands on the mat, curl the back toe under, lift the hips, and just push yourself back into downward facing dog. You can take whatever movement feels good here. You can lift one leg and the other, or you can take scorpion tail, stillness, movement, whatever works. All right. From tabletop or downward facing dog, bring the left leg forward. So bring that leg up, and then bring left knee towards left wrist, out to the side. Set up the shin, and maybe the side's different. Doesn't matter. We have skeletons that aren't symmetrical. We've led lives. We've had accidents. We've slept funny, maybe, whatever. So set up this side for yourself. Again, block underneath the left glute. If that is handy or helpful, you can recline forward for a more restful version. I'm actually going to stay upright for this one just because I could use some opening through the left or the right hip flexor. I'm noticing. Wherever you're at, you can close through the eyes, come to the breath. This is less about effort and muscular engagement. It's more about relaxing into the posture and using the breath to relax as much as possible. Sinking, letting the hips sink towards the earth. If there's lots of sensation, there probably is. The hips can be, there can be a lot of sensation with that. Bring breath there. Notice it without attaching to it. It's sensation. Unless there's pain. If there's pain, you back out. But if it's sensation, you notice it as sensation and let it go. All right. If you've come down, prop yourself up, moving back into your pigeon pose or coming to tabletop. Release in whatever way feels good for you. Follow what your body's telling you. Take some movement or stillness. What does that feel like when you release the pose after you've held it for a little bit? Do you feel some warmth? Do you feel fluids move back in? Does it feel like you're released? Maybe you feel nothing. That happens too. All right. Meeting in, just popping forward so we can sit on the mat. We're going to move into our final twist and then Shavasana. So this is the part where we really start to relax. If you've got, again, blankets, pillows, whatever, eye pillows handy, you can grab them. Make sure they're sort of close. Coming to lay on the backs, bringing knees together, feet off the mat, and then dropping the knees towards the left. So you can use the left hand outside the right knee to help the knees come down. So make sure your knees make contact with something. So either the mat, the floor, the pillow. And then you can bring arms out to the side like a capital letter T. Left hand can help the knees stay grounded. And then if it's okay for you, for the neck, you can bring the gaze to the right. Full twist of the spine, all the vertebrae. And relax and breathe. One more breath. Deep and slow. And then on your next inhale, bring the gaze back to center first, and hips back towards the mat. Squeeze the knees in. And then set up for the other side. So release the knees, bring the right hand to the outside of the left knee. Drop the knees towards the mat on the right hand side. Same options, arms can come out to a capital T. If that's okay for your hands, the right hand can also stay on top of the left knee. If it's bothering your shoulders, you can bring the left hand to the left hip as well. Make this pose work for you. There's no requirement for any of these poses to look a certain way. Eyes are closed or a soft gaze. One more breath. Inhale, gaze back to center, hips towards the mat. Let's squeeze the knees in so tight. Let's wrap the arms just below the knees, squeeze in everything. Grab the elbows, bring the forehead to the knees, squeeze tight, squeeze everything, even the face. And then exhale, release into your Shavasana, your corpse pose. So palms, or sort of backs of the hands on the mat, palms face up, feet flop open to the side. You can take up lots of space here. That might feel nice. Arms away from the body, feet further apart. Gently tuck the chin in just to lengthen the cervical spine. You might even squeeze the glutes and then release them, letting the hips settle. You can sort of jiggle the hips side to side a little bit. You might press down through the elbows, slide the shoulder blades under your back, and release again. You might open the jaw really wide and closing it again, releasing tension there. Let the jaw be heavy, the lips might part slightly. Maybe you cover yourself with a blanket. The forehead, there's no wrinkles, there's no tension. Let the skin almost like it drips sort of off your face. It's so relaxed it is. Let every part of you, every bone, be super heavy on the mat, like every bone weighs 1,000 pounds. The chest and belly rise and fall gently with the breath. let the attended awareness sort of rest there. Let it ride the wave of the breath. Luxuriating in the feeling that you've created in your body. Hopefully a sense of peace, coming home to yourself, spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself better, learning to love yourself more, to love this body more. You can stay here for as long as you like. I would encourage you to take the time, if you have it. This is such an important part of your practice. Take at least 10 more breaths is my challenge to you. And a further challenge is to maybe, when you get off the mat, is to take some time to actually not look at your phone. Maybe take 10 minutes, 5 minutes to enjoy this space you've created for yourself. And your mind is a little bit of peace before you return to the real world and all the stuff waiting there. And I don't think I introduced myself. My name is Dorothee. So if you have any questions or comments, by all means, let me know. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste.